think it's important that the laws be clearly there to educate parents about what is appropriate and inappropriate in terms of how their children are disciplined. The way that inappropriate assaults on children come to the attention of public agencies, whether it's police or child protective services, is a report of child abuse and neglect. So the way child abuse and neglect is defined and what defenses there are, both under criminal law and under the civil law definitions of child abuse and neglect that would permit, for example, a juvenile court judge to terminate parental rights or to place a child in foster care against the wishes of the parent. The way those laws are defined typically is to, first of all, use such words as reasonable discipline or the use of corporal punishment that is reasonably inflicted on the child does not constitute child abuse. That is something that every attorney and judge is aware of, because some of the cases that do come in involving physical discipline of children, the parents are going to claim that as a defense, that they were just doing what is their right to do. My view is that the problem with laws that simply say use of reasonable discipline or discipline reasonably inflicted. The reason I'm concerned about that is it leaves too much latitude to judges and jurors. What is reasonable? What is not reasonable? There's a lot of confusion about that. It's going to lead to some errors of failing to convict people who should be convicted, and some situations where people are convicted that maybe they shouldn't be convicted of child abuse. And I think most Americans would understand that if we're going to allow corporal punishment to be legal in this country, as we have up to this point in time, that we should be looking at ways in which its use is limited to situations so that we save the children's lives. Too many children are dying as a result of acts that start as physical discipline of children, as acts of correction, without any parental intent to kill a child or the intent of an adult in the home to kill the child. Many of these cases can now be prosecuted as first-degree murder, even without having to prove an intent to cause death or serious or permanent injury. But what we need is a legal recognition that there are certain things that you just do not do. You do not lay a hand on a child, for example, under a year old. You never hit a child, strike a child anywhere around the head. You do not use any physical punishment when you have been drinking or using drugs. You do not hit a child with an implement that can result in serious injury to the child. You do not burn a child. You do not scald a child in water or put a child on a hot radiator. You do not cut a child or mutilate a child's body or do a whole series of things that state laws need to clearly say, in my view, are impermissible. I think there are a whole series of things that some people may think of as corporal punishment that almost all Americans would say are inappropriate, are just not the right thing to do. And I think that the extent that we can get clarity on these issues and take that clarity and make it public policy, we can go a long way into preventing some of the deaths of children that we have in this country that are clearly attributable to corporal punishment that got out of control because a child was struck the wrong way, because a child was struck by someone who, because of their use of alcohol or drugs, lost control of themselves, or a child was hit in the wrong part of the part of a body that could easily cause serious harm, or a child was shook. I mean, we need to have a consensus in this country that's reflected by law that you don't shake babies. Okay? That's absolutely critical. So my preference is to be explicit in the law. And I wish every single state was explicit in the law about those things that you cannot do, whether it's based on the age of the child, the condition of the parent, or the specific types of acts that should be prohibited, that are prohibited by law. And if all states were to pass these and carve out major areas where it is clearly unlawful to do things to children, my hope is that over the years as these laws were implemented, it would lead us in the direction of recognizing that even in these other areas that haven't been made illegal, it's inappropriate to strike children, and that laws might move in the direction of prohibiting even those more limited uses of corporal punishment. But until we get a clear consensus under the law of what acts are inappropriate with children, that everyone would agree are inappropriate, I'm not sure we can move in that direction of total abolition under the law of parental use of corporal punishment.